What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Token Black, aka Don Zalug. I make sure everybody eats. And today we got another episode of the Different Dimension Podcast. Clap it up. Clap it up. Different Dimension Podcast number 3. And there are some changes that have happened in Yu-Gi-Oh! Since the last time we talked. So the last time we talked, as far as podcast goes, Genesys format had just came out. So we're gonna talk about the state of Genesys format now, and then talk about the state of Yu-Gi-Oh! In general. A lot of people talk about where Yu-Gi-Oh! Is compared to other games. I want to talk about where it is compared to itself and why people might feel the way they feel about the game. We'll talk about full art cards as well. Yu-Gi-Oh! Just announced full art cards, so we'll spend some time with that. And then I'll give you the latest updates for the Different Dimension Tournament Series. Whether you're on TikTok or YouTube, you've probably heard me talk about the Different Dimension Tournament Series in some capacity. So we'll end the podcast by talking about that. But first, I want to talk about full art cards. Different Dimension Podcast, episode 3. Full art cards have been announced for Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? I don't have the picture in front of me, but what I saw on Instagram was full art cards for Flame Swordsman, Blue Eyes, those legacy type of cards. And my question that I asked on TikTok was, what do we think that this is going to do to the secondary market? And I've got a couple different thoughts from people. People think that this is an invitation for scalpers to come to the game. Some people are happy that it's happened, and some people are skeptical because it's taken so long. I have been playing this game since the beginning, so since Legend of Blue Eyes. So you gotta think, that's a very long time studying Konami as a company and their habits of what they do. That's if you compare it to other games. And I said this in a video. You compare it to Pokemon. Pokemon has been doing full art cards for a very long time and has seen success in providing their player base full art cards. Now keep this in mind too. We're in October. The OCG is going to get this in February, which means TCG players won't get it until next summer sometime. And maybe the timing was strategic, where OCG is going to get it, TCG will be able to look at it, and then TCG will be able to hype us getting it. But from when it's coming out, I don't really understand the timing. Don't really like the timing of how this is being announced. But what I was saying before was, I've studied Konami and their habits for a while. Konami, as far as Yu-Gi-Oh! Goes, has been behind for a very long time. Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is always behind when it comes to moving the game forward at the pace in which they do it. So this coming out now, I'm not surprised at, because they've always been behind. So, yeah, I mean, it's not really like, I don't let me say this. The fact that full art cards are happening is good for the game. I don't really know where I'm at as far as what it's going to do to the secondary market yet, because this is completely new for Yu-Gi-Oh! Completely new. This isn't just, you know, this isn't just like a new rarity. This is a completely new addition to what Konami has been doing with Yu-Gi-Oh! Whereas a lot of people have recently been talking about the game is dying, it seems like Konami is using their resources to at least try to push the game in a better light, product-wise and actual card game-wise. So I think it'll do what it's supposed to do. You know what I mean? I don't think the scalping thing will happen as bad as I've seen it in Pokemon. I think there will be some instances of it because the collectors are going to try to get to it, and then the new players that are all about just making money in Yu-Gi-Oh! And your average backpack vendor is gonna get these cards and try to up them because one, this is it's just a new thing. There's always gonna be some chaos when something is new. So I think there will be some chaos in the beginning. It'll even itself out, but that time frame is unknown because it's so new. So the players that have been watching and understand Konami and what they've done, or what they have done for the longest, this isn't surprising. But for the younger generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, they're looking at this as a money thing. Which it makes sense because of what the younger generation is being brought up on. The ability to spot something and flip it. So I think full art cards are going to be, I don't want to say just another thing because the full art cards are new, but I mean, okay, we got full art cards. It's in the summer of 2026. All right. You know. And that part is also why I don't understand the announcing it now. That's where I don't understand that. It seems like they're trying to stay relevant. DBZ booking was good. Number 3 in the fan club. Yes, sir. Shout out to you. Appreciate y'all rocking with me on TikTok too. You dig? But yeah, you know. All right, cool. We got full art cards. So that's kind of my thoughts on the format now. I mean, not the format, but the announcement of full art cards now. I want to transition into Genesys format and the state of Genesys format. The last time we talked, this is Different Dimension Podcast, episode 3. And last time we talked, episode 1, Genesys had just came out. It's been about a month now. I've been doing a lot of Genesys testing. I just dropped my Dragon Ruler deck profile a little bit ago, or yesterday actually. I like Genesys format, but the meta, I don't know what the meta is, but the meta definitely has Vanquished Soul in it somewhere. Drew on TikTok said Genesys is so base. It is. I was skeptical, and I wasn't even gonna look at Genesys format. I stopped playing the game after reading Masterpiece, but I did try again with Salamangreat. I've been tapped in with what's going on. And I've done more deck building than I've done in the last 10 years in the last month. So I think the state of Genesys right now, Vanquished Soul is in there somewhere. I did see a comment that Odeon was one of the other decks, and I can't find it. It's on TikTok somewhere. So, but Vanquished Soul is one of the top decks. And I told y'all that the games that I saw, they were all Vanquished Soul. I saw some Fire King, but I had a feeling Fire King would phase out. I told y'all Vanquished Soul is one of them ones. And it is. Genesys format Vanquished Soul cannot be denied in the way Genesys is right now. Can't be denied. That's what I'm saying. I've seen Odeon for sure, and I've seen Vanquished Soul for sure. And that's just how it looks right now. So we did talk about there being a meta. The meta is being established now after about a month. But the meta is being established. And now that the meta is being established, what does that mean for I guess you would call it the second ban list, where they changed the point system? Now that the meta is being defined, do you go for the engines of these decks? Do you put a point system on cards within the engine? No. What do you do? Because if you go for the engine, the people will use other things, either use other things to make the deck better, or completely change it and go to something else. And then they go to something else, and then that deck becomes the meta. So I'm curious to see what Konami is gonna do now that there's a meta. You know, the options are go for the engine parts of the deck, but you can also just leave certain things the way they are. go for certain engines, not the entire meta. You can just let the point systems rock out and see if these things are real. Because we also have to keep this in mind. The whole thing, Genesys format, is a completely new thing. It's completely new. It's only been around for a month, and the meta is already being defined to a top 3 to 5. Whereas if there's 5 decks of diversity, that's more than a triangle format. Cool. 5 decks of diversity, that's cool. Even if the number of top decks is going to be 7, 10 even, cool. That part hasn't been defined yet because this format is new and there's only been one event. So there's many directions in which Genesys format can go now that things are being established. And it's good that things are being established because that's when changes are made. That's when we get more data on what they're going, well, I see it as data, but that's how we get more data on how it's gonna go from where it's at now. So Vanquished Soul is up there, Odeon is up there. I'm playing Dragon Ruler personally. I tested against Vanquished Soul, but I literally can't even call it testing because I drew so garbage. My hand was double 7 stars and my hand was trash. So I don't even want to call that testing. But I like where Dragon Ruler is. I haven't tested against Odeon yet. So Punk I've seen, Exo Sister, yeah. I think Drytron is really underrated, as well as Regenesis and Voiceless Voice. Okay, so actually, one of my homies that I've known, we grew up together playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Pretty much. He's playing Regenesis right now. So I watch his games whenever I get a chance to kind of learn what Regenesis does. Because I don't know what it does. And since this format is new, hey, appreciate y'all hitting the like button, yo. Appreciate y'all hitting the like button over here on TikTok. This is the 3rd episode of the Different Dimension podcast. But I'm still trying to figure out what Regenesis does because I've been out the game so long. I've been out the game, like I said, since Masterpiece. So it's been close to 13 years, but I've been tapped in for 25. So, you know, I think the direction in which they're trying to go with Genesys format is great. Let's see what happens next. Things are now starting to be established. Let's see what happens next. You know what I mean? Kuro, what up? Naruku, number 4 on the fan page. Yes, sir. Shout out Naruku. You dig? So that's what I think about Genesys format. That's what Genesys format is right now. Now speaking of Genesys format has already taken off enough to where I've asked the community the question of, do I need to be hosting Different Dimension Tournament Series tournaments for Genesys format? And the answer has been yes, already. So people really like Genesys format. So I can say for the Different Dimension Tournament Series for 2026, I will be hosting Genesys format. At least one Genesys format tournament so I can see, you know, how y'all respond to it, how the player base responds to it. because I have to do one to kind of set the standard or set the foundation for this is what the cash is gonna look like. This is what the tournament is gonna have. I got to do one for each format. So GOAT for sure is gonna be the first one. Genesys. I thought about doing Modern, man, but I don't know, man. Modern, I don't really know. I don't really know about doing Modern, you dig? But those are the ones I want to do. So shout out Genesys format. I will be doing Genesys format. I'm going heavy into GOAT. I can tell y'all that right now. I'm going heavy into GOAT. And y'all been asking for Edison format, man. But the reason I'm skeptical about doing Edison format is because there's already so many places that do Edison format. There's so many. So I just don't want to be another place that does Edison format. You know what I mean? If I do Edison, I'll be reluctant to do it, but I'll do it for the players. The players want Edison. The players want cash Edison. All right, I'll get y'all the Edison format tournament. But I'm saying right now, I'll be reluctant to do it. So first update, I will be doing Genesys format for the Different Dimension Tournament Series in 2026. Still pushing it super heavy on TikTok, on YouTube as well. As far as content goes for these tournaments, you'll get the top 8 deck profiles. You'll get streams on TikTok and YouTube for the feature matches for each round, player interviews. Because I'm definitely 1000% doing player interviews during the stream. So the stream will transition from the game, and then in between the game, I'll be doing a player interview with one of the players. So there'll be a lot of content that comes from it. You'll be able to follow players' journeys through these tournaments, because I'm going to be talking to the guy that's playing the obscure deck. I'm going to be talking to the guy that's playing the meta deck. And then when they come back for the next tournament, okay, how'd you do? Okay, what's their plan for this one? Okay, we remember him from the last feature match. Is he playing something obscure again? Let's put that on stream. So there'll be a mix of the obscure deck and the competitive deck, because it's a tournament. It's a tournament. You want to see what the top tier is. And there will be a meta for Different Dimension Tournament Series. Maybe the meta for the DDT is different than the meta for another brand that's doing their thing. We don't know. So, there will be a lot going on with that as far as content from the tournaments. And that'll be on YouTube and TikTok. And then I'll have merch there as well. Go format. I do a lot of hoodies. And t-shirts and stuff. So I'll have that. And then I'll also have mats getting made. I only do rubber mats. I hate cloth mats. I only do rubber mats. I can tell y'all that right now. I only do rubber mats. But I'll do cloth mats for the people though. Nah, but I really only like rubber mats. So yeah. So a lot of merch that's gonna come from it. And stuff like that. The second thing is the third thing is I'm getting an app made. I'm getting an app made for the Different Dimension Tournament Series where you'll be able to register get a QR code, get all your round notifications of where you're going to be sitting at, time updates of when it's 5 minutes, 1 minute. You'll get all of that to your phone through the app. So the beginning phases of that are starting now. I'll be able to organize the tournaments through there. There'll be a community in it. All of that stuff. So the beginning phases of that are starting now. I'm really excited for it. Because I'm working with a developer. So he's got a lot of stuff going on right now. So that's why I'm saying the beginning format, or the beginning phases of it. Because, like I said, he's got stuff going on. So, but once it's time to lock in, things are gonna start moving. He's gonna be doing demos for me as well, so I'll be able to show y'all the demos of the app. So I'm excited for that. I think that's gonna be a super dope aspect that the Different Dimension Tournament Series is bringing that nobody else is bringing. Cause now I'm trying to do it big, and I'm gonna do it different. Levels, man. That's what the Different Dimension Tournament Series is gonna show. Levels, straight up. So that's the Different Dimension podcast, man. I appreciate you guys coming through. Different Dimension podcast, episode 3. TikTok, I don't know where the streams don't exist anymore after I do them on TikTok. So you might see it, you might not. They're always gonna be on YouTube. So the YouTube is at Token Black YGO as well, if you want to go back and watch the full thing. But I'm gonna upload the full thing, and then I'm gonna upload the clips as well. So y'all will see that. But the clips will be coming soon. And then we'll talk the next time there's something to talk about. YouTube or Yu-Gi-Oh has been giving more things to talk about, so that's good. We'll check on the state of Genesys format and then kind of go from there. But yeah. I did want to watch Nim Nim's video.